All right. Thank you for joining us. See you Thursday.
Thank you.
You're
Bye.
welcome. Bye. Okay. So this one's going to be a little long, but this is pretty much the hardest thing they're going to give you with graphing inequalities. We're doing more than what the problem is asking us to do because we're going to graph these. So we're going to do 30 is greater than or equal to 5 times x plus 4. All of that is greater than or equal to 10. All right. Everybody ready? I'm going to reset the clock. I want you to solve this and graph it. Time starts now.
Could you call the problem again?
Yes. It's going to be 30 is greater than or equal to 5 times x plus 4. All of that is greater than or equal to 10.
10. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm done.
All right. I got you at 1 minute. 1 minute and 1 second. And you graphed it as well?
No.
Yeah, graph that as well. No one else is finished? So, Sam, are we still working? Andre, are we still working?
I'm kind of confused the one.
Okay. What about you, Andre?
graphical is from negative 10 to positive 2.
Okay,
I'm
so
not sure.
so you think you found the answer? Did you graph it?
I'm ready.
Okay. So that's 4 minutes. And Andre, you solved it. Did you graph it as well?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right. So everybody finished. So we're about 4 minutes into this. Okay. So as we do more practice problems, we're going to see if we're becoming more efficient. Okay. So I know that I know at least one person expressed some confusion on how to set up the problem, but we're going to go with the exact same thing we did before. So the most important thing is that I set up the problem correctly. So this right here is going to be one problem. Does that make sense, Tom?
Yes.
All right, so this is going to be problem number 1. So because that's problem number 1, that's what I need to solve first. So that's going to be 30 is greater than or equal to 5 times x plus 4. So how am I going to solve this? What am I going to do? Somebody walk me through this.
Multiply 5 by x and 5 by 4.
Okay, so we have 5x plus 20.
Yeah, plus 20.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now what?
Plus 20.
Plus 20. So that look like a multiplication sign. Plus 20. I'm trying to write it in a way where I don't block the board. I know that comes out weird sometimes. Okay, now what?
Minus 20 on both sides.
Yep. So that's going to cancel out.
Cancel 10. Okay.
So I'm going to be left with 10 is
down.
uh-huh.
5x.
Uh-huh.
X is 10 divided by 5. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's just a case.
Yep.
Yeah. X is less and equal to 2.
Perfect. So we know that is going to be part of the graph. Okay? Is that 2 is greater than or equal to x. Okay? That's what the answer is for problem 1. 2 is greater than or equal to x. So now we need to solve problem number 2, right? Problem number 2 is going to be 5 times x plus 4 is greater than or equal to 10. So now we're going to do the second problem. Any questions before we move on to the second problem?
No.
No question.
Thank you. Oh, I need to grab something else to erase this. Sorry, had to grab some more paper. It's getting all smushed up. Okay. Now, I know that some of this may seem like it takes some time because we're learning, but as we practice this is called fluency. As we practice this more often, it's going to be smoother and we're going to get faster. Speed is important when we're testing because we are on a deadline for time. Okay, so we're going to rewrite this. 5 times x plus 4. All of that is greater than or equal to 10. So what are we going to do now?
Parentheses.
Sorry, I could not hear. What was that? What are we going to do now?
5x plus.
So we're going to solve that first?
Plus 20, yeah.
Okay. So this is going to become 5x plus 20. All of that is greater than or equal to 10. Now what?
Subtract
Yeah.
20. The other side, and you get negative 10.
So now we have 5x is greater than or equal to negative 10.
And then you could divide 5.
So that cancels that out. We're left with the x. Divide by 5. We're left with negative 2. Now the question becomes, how am I going to write this out? So I need to write this out. That would be the first part of the answer. Then we need to graph it. So how would I write this out?
I don't know.
Okay. One person says they need help. So if we're confused, let me know. Because if not, I'm going to give you guys time to marinate, metacognate. Go ahead.
Now I have a question.
Go ahead.
The first time you said that if we divide with the negative sign,
Ooh, good question. Did we divide by an... Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If we get with a negative number, so the sign greater or less, that be flipped. So why this one is
Yes.
flipped?
Now the question is, did we divide by a negative number? Or by just doing regular subtraction, we got a negative number? That's the question. Did we actually divide or multiply by a negative number? Or did our product or sum just happen to be a negative number? Or should I say the sum or the difference happen to be a negative number?
So for this one, the answer has to be negative.
Correct. But we were not dividing by a negative number or multiplying by a negative number. Does that make sense? We just happened to get a negative number because we subtracted 10 by 20. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah.
So we get negative 10. So if negative number on the top, like we divide by 5, is a positive number. So the greater sign, we don't need to flip.
Correct. Now, let's say we were dividing by a negative number or we were multiplying by a negative number, then the sign needs to flip. Yeah. If we just get a negative number because it's already there, or we get a negative number because of something else, some other math operation, we're fine. Good. So how are we going to write this out?
The graph.
We got to combine our answer to problem number 1 and our answer to problem number 2. We gotta write that out. So if you're not sure, just say not sure, and then I'll go ahead and walk it through. If you want to give it a shot, let me know. It's the same thing as we did earlier.
Can be 2 greater equal X.
Okay. So you want to give it a shot? Okay. Let me erase this and let's write it out.
Okay.
Everybody should have written this at home, so it doesn't matter that I'm erasing it all.
Yeah, X is less and equal 2.
So X
And
is less
and
than or
equal-
equal to, I'm sorry, less than or equal to 2?
lesser X and lesser and equal than 2 and greater
Greater than
equal negative 2.
So X is less than or equal to 2. And then what else?
Negative. Oh, okay.
All right, okay, so let's try this
And-
because I want us to have a method that we can always use. So let's always start off by writing down the smallest number first and keeping the X in the middle. So what is the smallest number?
-2.
Okay.
Negative 2.
You don't have to do it this way, but it's just easier. If you stick with one method, you're going to be more efficient. So let's look at -2, okay? We know we're going to have X in the middle. What is -2 in relation to X?
On the left,
But in relation to it, is -2 equal to X? Is it less than X? Is it greater than X? What is it?
negative 2 is less than equal.
Good. -2 is less and equal to X. Good. So we knocked out the -2. Now what?
Yes, because X is greater than equal to negative 2.
What else? Because we expressed the first problem. -2 is less than or equal to X. What about the other side of the problem? The +2. How are we going to write that in here? We know.
Way,
Go ahead.
X will be less and equal than 2.
Outstanding. Here's your answer. But we're still not done. So we're going to graph this as well. But before we move on to graphing, does this make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we need to graph it. And again, this is another way we become more efficient, right? If we understand the way it's supposed to be graphed, we can find the smallest of mistakes. If they don't have the circle filled in, if they selected the wrong number, if the arrow is going in the wrong direction, this is what's going to make us efficient. A lot of people cry about the math portion of the test. I think the math is actually easier than the reading, in my opinion. Very black and white, very formulaic, one step after the other. It's these little problems that help you solve it, right? Okay, so who thinks they know how to graph this? Let's start there. So I'm not just giving it away. Who thinks they could tell me how this would be graphed?
X is between -2 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
From -2 to 2 is the X.
Okay. Okay, so let's go to -2. Which direction is my arrow going to go?
go to greater than -2. No, greater, that's less than.
But why do you think I put the arrow going in that direction? Couple of reasons.
Oh, I see. It means from that is not the X, it's not the true answer.
Correct. It has to be smaller than -2 for this to be true, right? Now, what about my circle? Should my circle be empty? Should it be full? Remember, we talked about this a few minutes ago. There's a rule.
But X is between -2 and +2. Right?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Now, the question is, what about this circle? This is going to be an easy way to discriminate against the answers on the test. Should this be full or should it be empty?
It's full.
Oh, yes, included this number.
Yeah.
Why? Because of the equal sign, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now what?
Circle in on number 2.
Mm-hmm. What else?
And it's for 2. It's for 2.
Okay. And by the way, this is a lot harder than what you'll probably get, but again, we want to keep the rigor high. Now what am I going to do with the arrow?
The arrow is outside. Out. Go.
So which direction should it go? Towards the negative numbers or towards the positive numbers?
Oh, toward the positive.
Towards the positive?
I think that.
Okay. So simple rule of thumb, whichever way the inequality faces, it's the same way the arrow goes. So the arrow would actually go that way. Right. And if we look at and again, you're not going to be asked to graph when they're going to be compound inequalities, they're probably not going to ask you to graph that. When they're not compound inequalities, you will almost certainly be asked to graph it. I just wanted to see if we could do it. And if you look at it, they're pretty much just giving you like if you're treating it as two separate problems, then you can see why the range would work. Right? Any questions on this one? I'm not going to ask you to graph the compounds because that's just being extra. But I want to see if we could do it. Any questions on this though? Because we're going to have more compound and we're going to have other ones I'm going to ask you to solve. Questions?
No questions.
All right. So we did well on that. So I'm going to give you another problem, not a compound one, and again, I want you to graph it as well. After this one, then we're going to have a compound inequality. Okay. And I picked these problems in particular because of their level of difficulty. And I'm starting the clock again. I would like you to solve this and graph it. So I'm going to reset the clock starting now. Please let me know when you're done as well. Please, please, please do not stay quiet. We have to break everything down. How long it takes, why it took us so long, how to be more efficient. Everyone needs to pass.
I'm ready.
Nice. 1 minute, 18 seconds. And you graphed it as well?
Yeah.
All right, Mariana. Andre, where we at?
Yeah, I'm trying to solve.
Still working?
this,
Okay.
Division part.
Okay.
Working.
Perfect. And Mariana?
Yes, I did it, but I'm not sure if it is good.
Okay. ¿Pero piensa que ya terminaste o quieres más tiempo?
Oh, I'm done.
Okay. So I have you at 4 minutes. And see, this is why we do this, because these, according to the test, should only take us about a minute or less, really. Not that I personally feel like that's the best way to do it, but that is like the standard they're going to impose when you're testing. You need some more time, Andre?
No, I'm wait to explain.
Okay. So I got you in.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still not got this.
So not getting it?
Of the fraction.
Okay. So I got you at about 5 minutes. So before we finish this, and that's why I like doing this, right? Because you see how much time one question can take up from the test if we're not proficient in it. This is why we cover all the standards, because let's say we skip it. We could have more questions like this, right? We could have a word problem like this, right? So at most, this problem, when I stopped it, took on average about almost 6 minutes, right? And for the high set portion, we'll go back to my graphic here. The high set portion of the math portion of the high set test, 'cause I don't memorize how long it takes. You are only given 90 minutes, right? So let's just say the 6 minutes, let's just say 2 problems takes you about 10 minutes. You now use a ninth of your time on 2 problems, right? So this is why we're always timing, looking at efficiency, right? Because the entire math portion is 90 minutes. Yes, it may be multiple choice, and that's why you have to use the little tools that we talk about to discriminate against the answers. Is it full? Is it going in the right direction? Those little inconsistencies in the options is what's going to help you pass, right? So this one can seem intimidating, but we always start off by doing the opposite. That's called an inverse operation, doing the opposite. So what can we do the opposite of here so we can get the variable alone and the number alone? What can we do the opposite? What's that?
Multiply by 3.
Okay, and why are we multiplying by 3?
We want to get rid of the denominator.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to multiply this whole thing by 3. That's not going to become x minus 2. Right? And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So that's going to be 6x plus 33.
Good.
Question so far?
No. No.
Okay. So what are we going to do from here?
Combine.
Okay. And what are we going to combine?
No, combine like term.
Okay. Tell me where to go. Tell me where to go. Tell me where to go. Remember, we did an inverse operation here, right? We got rid of the nasty, crazy looking division sign. What else can we cancel out so we can get the variable by itself and get the number on the other side? What can we combine? What can we get rid of?
Okay, I pass to the other side as positive.
Okay. So that canceled out the 2.
Yes.
So now we have x is greater than 6x plus 35. And now we're done, right?
Not yet. No. Not yet. Then I pass 6x to the other side as a negative.
Oh, so you subtracted 6x.
Yes, I subtracted.
What did that give you?
Minus 5x.
There we go. All right, say it. Go ahead. Go ahead. What does that give us?
Minus 5x.
What kind of 5?
5.
What kind of 5?
Minus. Negative 5.
Negative 5x. Does everybody understand why that's a negative 5?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Alma here. Hey, Alma, if you can hear us, please join the conference call. Yeah, it says I have 9 people on, but I only have 3 people on the conference call.
I am in the conference call.
What's that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Rating.
Okay, so now what do we do?
35.
So negative 5x is what? Go ahead.
Then minus 5 plus dividing 3 5.
Okay, so you said we're going to divide by negative 5?
Yes. Yes, negative 5.
So, and I'm sorry, I wrote so big, I'm running out of space. So what does x equal? Or how should we, what is the solution? Let's start there.
We flip
Ooh, what was that? What was that?
the sign to be less than.
What? Why do we flip the sign?
Because we divide with negative.
You're exactly right. So we're going to flip the sign. So our solution, we're going to flip the sign. Okay. So now it's going to go in the other direction. So what is the solution?
Negative 7.
Okay. So where am I going to put my x? Where am I putting the negative 7? I got the feedback loop.
Left side.
Okay. So where's my x going to go? Where's my negative 7 going to go?
X is on the left side.
Okay.
And negative 7 on the right side.
So x has to be less than negative 7. How would we graph that? Well, is that even true? Let's see. Negative 7 minus 2 divided by 3 is greater than 2x plus 11. So let's see. Negative 7 minus 2 is what? We're just checking it right now, by the way,
Okay.
to see if it's true. Then we're going to graph it.
9.
What kind of 9?
Is negative 9.
Well, yeah, so that'd be negative 9
3.
divided by 3 is what?
Negative 3.
Okay, so let's see if all of that is greater than or equal to 2x plus 11. So 2 times negative 7 is what?
It's negative 14.
Negative 14 plus 11 is what?
Negative.
So we know 3 is not going to make the solution true, right? So what's going to make the solution true? Any number that is greater than negative 3. All right, so let's see. What if it was negative 2? Well, negative 2 minus 2 would give you what? Crickets?
I cannot hear you.
Oh, okay. So here we see how -3 is not part of the solution, right? Because -3 is not greater than -3. It's the same. So that's why we're not going to circle -3. So to make this equation true, it has to be any number that is greater than -3 when we graph it. I'm sorry, any number that is going to be -7 or less to make this true. Does that make sense? So that's why when we graph it, any number that is -7 or less will make this equation true. Does that make sense so far? Because we need to graph this. We understand the answer is -7.
Okay.
Right, so we flip the sign. -7 or anything greater, I'm sorry, anything less than -7 is going to make this equation true. Questions about that? Okay, so let's see if we were to graph it. I haven't heard anything from Mariana. I haven't heard anything from Sam. Does this make sense?
No. Wait, yes, that's right.
Okay, so let's go ahead and graph it. So we had,
I'm sorry, before do the graphic, I'm still confused with the sign when we change, when this negative
yes, anytime we're dividing,
more than this.
yeah, anytime we're dividing or multiplying by a negative number, we have to flip the inequality.
Okay, okay.
Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and graph this, and let's see if it's true. This is going to make a lot more sense. And again, don't sleep on the graphing, guys. We know these can be quick hits, little mistakes, right? What should I circle?
-7.
Is it empty or full?
Empty.
Empty. Which way should my arrow go?
Less than -7.
So it should go to the left. Always go with the inequality sign is at, right? And let's see. Let's plug in a random number to see if that's even true. -8. -8 minus 2 would give you -10. -10 divided by 3, -10 thirds. -16 plus 11.
Left.
And then you know that,
Negative.
yep. That'd be give you -5, right? The smaller the number that's negative, the closer it is to 0, the bigger the number is. So that would be a true statement. Right? Because -8 thirds would be 2 wholes and 2 thirds, which is still, so -2 wholes and 2 thirds is still greater than -5. Because as we get closer to the 0, the number is bigger, right? As we go farther away from 0, the number is smaller, right? We'd rather be -$2 in the bank than be -5, right? Because that's closer to being a positive whole number. Does that make sense? We sleeping? That make sense?
No question.
No question? Mariana? Alma?
No,
Andre? Okay.
no question.
All right. Was that easy? Was that easy?
It's easy to solve the problem, but sometimes confusing with the fact.
Okay. So I'm going to give you another problem that again involves division. because we need to get comfortable with this. This is how they're going to scare you. Because I know a lot of people are like, well, I don't get this, but I have heard students say it. Oh, well, the problems we did in class were one-step solutions, and it was easy. And then on the test, they had fractions, and they had negative numbers, and radicals, and things we never talked about in class. So that's why I try to give you the hardest things, because that's how they're going to get you, right? And if we're uncomfortable with inequalities that involve essentially fractions, division, then we need to do more of that. So let's do another one, right? So that's going to be x minus 2 is less than 2x plus 6 divided by 4. I'm going to start the timer again. And after this problem, if you guys want to take a short bathroom break, bio break, we can do that, because we've gone probably after this one almost 2 hours straight. If you don't need it, we can continue on. I don't want to burn anybody out. I know we all have lives. So, turning on the timer, please solve this and graph it. Time starts now.
Okay, I'm ready.
Ooh, done?
Yeah.
30 seconds. Nice, Sam. 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm done.
1 minute, 21 seconds. Nice.
I'm done.
1 minute, 45 seconds. And I think that was everybody, right? All right. Is there anybody on the conference call that is still working? If not, we're going to jump right into it. Nobody need more time? Nobody need more time? Okay. Looks like everyone's saying they're fine. All right. All right. So, what's the first thing we're going to do here?
Get rid of denominator by multiplied by 4.
Good. So we're starting to get comfortable with this. So we're going to multiply all of this by 4. Multiply all of this by 4.
Both sides.
So now this is going to cancel out the 4 here. So we're going to be left with. Ooh, what are we left with? I'm confused. Someone help me.
X plus 6.
What's that?
2x plus 6.
2x plus 6.
Yeah.
What else am I going to bring down?
On the other side.
So what am I going to write?
4x minus 6.
4x minus 6.
8.
Okay. Now what?
Minus 8.
Okay, now what?
Now we plus 8 to the both sides to get rid of negative 8.
Okay. So now we have 4x greater than 2x plus.
6.
Huh? Plus what?
So 2x plus 14.
Okay. Now what?
Yeah. And then we minus x from both sides, minus 2x from both sides.
Okay, so now we have the variables on both sides. Now we're left with 2x is greater than, 2x is less than 14.
Yeah. Less than 14.
Now what?
So we have to divide both sides by 2 to find the x.
Okay, divide by 2. So what would I get?
So x less than 7.
Okay. Now, how would we graph that?
We have to circle on number 7.
Okay, so let me go ahead. Write my thing down. All right. So Sam, you're killing it. All right, so Mariana or Andre, can you show me how to graph this?
Yes, I got that.
Okay.
I got 7, but I still confused with the sign. I changed the sign.
Okay, why'd you change the sign?
Because I just think that because there was a division, but I'm not sure. I confused with that.
Okay, so when we were solving it, did you understand that we did do division, but did you see that we didn't have any negative? We didn't multiply by anything negative or divide by any negative numbers?
Yes.
Okay, so does that make sense? Does that make sense?
I'm not sure. I'm still confused.
Okay. Si es más fácil, dime en español, porque es importante, porque cuando te dan esta pregunta en la prueba, esos detalles así pequeños van a hacer la diferencia si está equivocada o si lo va a entender.
Sí, eso me va a hacer una respuesta mal. Sí, no entiendo exactamente cuándo es cuando se cambia el signo. Sé que sé que un negativo con un positivo es un negativo, sé que un negativo con un negativo es negativo, eso lo entiendo perfectamente, pero al final el problema es cuando me confundo cuando cambio el signo.
Ok, nada más cambias el signo cuando estás dividiendo o multiplicando por un número negativo.
Ok,
Si no, el señal se queda lo mismo.
entonces en este caso, si yo hubiera dividido 14 entre menos 2, allí sí lo hubiera
Exactamente.
cambiado.
Entonces ahí en ese momento tienes que cambiar el señal.
Ok, es mejor.
¿Sí? ¿Sí me explico?
Muchas gracias.
Oh, de nada. Okay. What about you, Mr. Andre? Make sense?
Yeah, because found X is last 7,
Okay.
and graphical in the line X line is X will be to the left side on 7, but it's not include 7.
Good. And why does it not include the 7? Okay. So it doesn't include the 7 because it doesn't have that in the problem, right? It doesn't have the equal sign in the problem. It's just an inequality. So 7 is not like part of the answer. But you're exactly right. So we would circle 7, and then in which direction is the arrow going? To the left, towards the zeros, or towards the higher numbers?
To the left.
To the left, right? Right, and you can see again if that's true. So this was, so let's see. So we know 7 would make it true, right? 7 minus 2 is 5. That's on the one side, right? I'm just going to work it out real quick here so we can see it again. Okay, so 7 minus 2 is 5. So 5 has to be less than everything else. So let's see. 2 times 7 is 14. 14 plus 6 is 20. 20 divided by 4 is 5. So obviously, the 7 won't work, right? It doesn't make it true. Sorry, am I cutting myself off? It doesn't make it true. So it has to be anything below 7 to make it a true statement. Okay, so does that make sense so far?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. We're going to do one more compound inequality. Then we're going to do word problems. And then by then, we're pretty much finished. All right. So I try to find the ones that I think are going to be the most intimidating so that we get comfortable. And again, I know that Alma's here and Diane are here on the video. Please join the conference call because it's really helpful for you guys to be able to walk through the problem. So if you're listening to the video, everyone on the conference call is solving the problem on their own. Remember, we're all testing on our own. It's not going to be a good thing to be shy. It's not going to be a good thing because Mariana can solve it and you can't. All right. So call in so that you can solve it step by step. The live chat is working for now. So if you don't have the number, shoot me a message and I'll send that out. So let's move on to another compound inequality. Okay. So we're going to have 22 is less than or equal to 6x minus 2 is less than or equal to 4x plus 16. I'm starting the timer. And again, you want to outdo yourself. You saw it, and I'll even send out the graphic image. You only have 90 minutes for the math portion of the high set test. Yes, it is multiple choice. But again, if they give you anywhere near, I think that, I want to say they average like 40 questions, 50 questions. So you're kind of getting to that like 2 minutes per question mark, right? So again, we want to outdo ourselves. Time starts now.
Okay, I'm done.
Nice. I have you clocked in 27 seconds, Tom. And you graphed it as well?
Yes.
Perfect. You even beat your old record of less than 30 seconds.
I'm done.
Okay, so I have you 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Nice.
I'm done.
All right. So I got you at 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Okay, so who would like to walk us through how to solve this problem?
Okay, if nobody can do
They're
it.
scared. They're scared. Don't be scared. No tengas miedo.
So now we divide to the two problems, two equations.
Good. So we're going to separate it
Yeah.
into two questions or two separate problems. Okay. Now, fun fact while we're timing each other. So the math portion, I just looked this up. The math portion of the high set has 50 questions. Okay. You have 90 minutes for 50 questions. So you get, I mean, if you took a minute on each, so you probably get about 2 minutes per question, more or less. All right. And understand some of these are going to be word problems. So the ability to do this in 30 seconds is a great way to manage your time. So what's my first problem?
First problem is 22 less than or equal 6x minus 2.
Okay, so that's problem number one. How do we solve that? Somebody besides Sam. She's killing it.
Yes.
Andre, Mariana, Alma, Diane. Who else is here? Yeah, somebody else.
I checked the left side. 22. Yes, less 6x minus 2. And solving this part first.
Mhm.
Okay, I got negative 2.
Okay, how'd you get? Okay, so negative 2.
This is 24 less than equals 6x.
Okay, perfect. So you added the 2 here.
Less than equal
24 less than equal to 6x.
Yes, and x is less than equal 24 divided by 6, and then x is less than equal 4.
Okay. So we solved the first problem. So we know that 4 has to be greater, less than or equal to x. So I'm going to write that up here.
Yeah.
And we're done now, right? Mariana, are we done?
Yes. Yes, I know.
Are we?
That's one problem.
Now we got to do the other side, right? Got to do the other problem. So Mariana, what is the other problem? How do we solve it?
Okay, I have the problem 6x minus 2 less equal 4x plus 16.
4x plus 16. Okay. So what do we do now?
Okay, I joined the x in the same side.
Okay.
So I passed 4x to the other side as a negative.
So you subtracted by 4x. Okay. What did that give us?
2x minus 2
We bring everything else down. Now what?
Now I pass the 2 negative as a positive to the other side. And that becomes 18. 2x less equal to 18. Then I divided 2 to isolate the x.
All right.
This I have.
So x is what?
X less equal 9.
Perfect. Okay. Now, how would we write this out?
You can write 4.
Okay, let me erase everything. Love it. Get us some space here. Let me call some of these people out. Right before we started, hold on. Because there's some people that are on the YouTube video that I'm not hearing from. Go ahead. How do we write it out?
4
Uh-huh.
less of x,
Less than or equal to x.
yeah, less and equal to x, and less and equal x less and equal to 9.
Flawless.
Less and equal to 9. Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so
The graph.
sorry, I just got a couple messages. Okay. Oh, Alma, you're on the conference call? What? Alma, you're here?
Thanks. Yes.
Ah, how come you didn't say anything? Okay, so we're gonna do one more then, because I want to make sure that Alma could do it as well. Okay. Any questions about this?
No, no question.
Question?
No
Okay.
question.
All right. So I don't want anybody to try to sneak by. Okay. Yeah, I was like, wait. All right. So let's see. Okay. We're going to do another compound one because this is going to hit our fluency with solving equations. All right. So then after this one, we're going to move on to a word problem. Now, before I start on it, do you guys prefer for me to write the word problem up on the board, or I can send a link to another program, ClassKick, and you guys can see it on your computer? What do you guys prefer?
Right on the board, please.
The board? Okay. All right. So this is going to be our last compound inequality. Okay. And this one, Alma's going to help us solve. If not, you got plenty of friends here that will help you. Sorry, excuse me for one moment. Hello?
Hi, Mr.
Sorry about that, guys. I had somebody call me to fix a fridge. Okay, so this is the problem. Negative 7x is greater than negative 2 multiplied by x plus 15 is less than 10. So I'd like you to solve that. I'm going to start the timer now. And please let me know when you're done.
So now I have a problem with the question.
What's that?
Now I have a problem with the question.
I'm done.
All right. So I got you at 2 minutes, 22 seconds. Okay. And then for Alma, Mariana, anybody else is on here. So if you're confused, let me know so we can start working it. If you believe you're done, let me know. What's that?
I don't know right or wrong.
You can always tell if you're right or wrong if your answer makes the equation almost true, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Alma, Mariana.
I think I'm done.
Okay. So I got Sam at 2 minutes and 57 seconds. Mariana at 3 minutes.
I'm still working.
Okay. So she's working. I'll just talk a little bit about the logistics of it. Okay. So just remember that the math portion is going to have several different domains, right? Geometry, probability and statistics, algebra, measurement and data, and arithmetic. Right? Some of those are going to take longer than others, right? Algebra is the biggest portion, but these are supposed to be quick hits, right? These types of questions you're supposed to be able to get in a minute or less. So when I send out practice problems, keep going over them because we want to be fluent. Because there's going to be some word problems that are going to take you 2 or 3 minutes just to read it. And that's where you really want to focus your attention on. So in teaching, those are known as DOK level 3 questions, right? Domain of knowledge level 3, meaning there's going to be multiple steps. It's complicated. You're kind of starting something almost from scratch. You're comparing two different things. That's where you want to use your 90 minutes wisely. Take your time on those. These, you really want to push yourself to be efficient. Try to keep it to a minute or less. Because if we took 3 minutes per question and there's 50 questions, you would run out of time. Right? You would be almost, that'd be 150 minutes. You're allotted 90 minutes. You're looking at being over. Right? You're looking at being over by almost an hour. Oh no, you're looking at being over by 30, 40 minutes, and that's not going to be helpful.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay, so I got you at 5 minutes and 22 seconds. Okay. So Alma has volunteered to walk us through this. So what's the first step we're going to take?
Okay. I'm not sure. We can multiply 2 by x by 2 by 3.
Okay, so that'd be
Multiply that by
2x plus 30. Okay. And if you guys want to help her out, this is all part of our accountable conversations, right? So if you see that she needs some help, feel free to jump in there. I love for you guys to do most of the talking. So is this it?
Before we can we separate the problem first?
Okay, so we rewrite the problem. Negative 7x greater than 2x plus 30. Okay. Now what, Alma?
now.
So the negative 2 multiplied by x, the answer is negative 2x. And then minus 30, not plus 30.
Yes, you're right. It's minus 30 because the sign.
Oh, it's negative 30.
Yeah. And
Negative 30 and negative 2x.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Don't forget negative 2x.
Yep, got my little hash mark here. So what are we gonna do? So for Amma, keep in mind, our goal here is to get the x on one side of the inequality and all the numbers on the other side. So how are we going to do that from here?
So we add 2x.
Okay. And why are we adding 2x? Can you explain to us, Amma, why we're adding 2x?
Can we do minus 7x
Well,
plus minus 2x is equals minus 5x?
now we can. The only reason that we don't want to do that is because now everything is on the same side of the inequality. Does that make sense? So it's going to be harder for us to figure out it's going to be harder for us to solve it because they're all on the same side of the inequality. So we want to try to keep the variables or these letters on one side of the inequality and keep all the numbers on the other side. So you're right about doing the opposite so we can start getting rid of things. But let's get rid of it in a way where everything is the variables are going to be on one side of the of the inequality, and everything else is going to be on the opposite side. So how could we do that? So if we take the 7 on the other side, we're putting all the variables, all the letters on one side. We don't want to do that. We want to make it so the variables are on one side and the numbers are on the other. So what could I do?
We add 2x to both sides.
Okay. Does that make sense, Amma?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now what do we do, Amma?
Okay. Eliminate minus 2.
Mm-hmm.
Plus eliminate minus 2.
Yep.
And, okay. Now we're going to get minus 5x minus negative 5.
And then what about the sign here? And if you need to explain it in Spanish, that's fine. I just want to make sure, or whatever language.
5 negativo. 5 negativo. X menos 30.
Okay. Entonces, este señal aquí, menos 30. Okay. Less than. Okay. ¿Y qué tipo de 30 es? ¿Positivo o negativo?
Negativo.
Okay. ¿Y ahora qué? Now what?
5 dividir entre 5 y nos va a quedar x mayor que 6.
Okay. ¿Y eso es la respuesta? ¿O todavía queda otro paso? So is this my answer, guys? Or
So this one
What's that?
This one we don't need to flip the
I don't know. You tell me. Do we need to flip it?
I think we need to flip
Okay. Why do we need to flip it?
because we divide it by negative number.
Because we divided by that -5. You're exactly right. So this is going to be flipped. Does that make sense, Amma?
Yes.
All right. So now we're done, right? The answer is x is less than 6. We're done with the whole problem. Is that true, Amma?
Yes, yes, it is.
¿Terminamos con todo o todavía queda otro paso?
Falta otro paso.
All right. So let's set that up. So we do have one more step. We solved the first equation. So we know that x is less than 6. Okay, Amma, so help me set up the next problem and solve it.
That's okay. This is the first part.
Correct.
And the right side now. Yeah.
Correct. All right. So how are we going to set it up, Amma?
Okay. El siguiente problema va a ser 2
Uh-huh.
menos 2,
Uh-huh.
paréntesis, x más 15 es mayor que 10.
Mayor que qué?
Negative 2x,
Yep.
negative 30, less than 10.
All right. And I love that you're jumping in here. Awesome. So that's negative 2x, negative 30, less than 10. Okay. Amma, what's the next step? El próximo paso.
Sí, ok, porque estoy... un segundo.
And while she's doing that, huh?
Eliminar, vamos a eliminar
Uh-huh.
al 10. Vamos a restar a menos 10, al 30 y el 10 positivo. No sé cómo explicarle esa parte.
Okay.
Cuando eliminamos.
Okay, so right here, she was explaining to me how we're going to combine these like terms, but she was unable to. She was kind of struggling with how to explain it and how to set it up. So we need some help from Mariana, Andre, or Sam.
So we can get rid of negative 30 on the left side. I add 30.
Okay, and why are we doing that, Mariana? Why are we adding 30?
So, para eliminar,
Yes.
quitarle de ese lado el número y pasarlo al otro lado.
So we do this. This is called an inverse operation. Muy bien. We do this so that we can get rid of the 30. Now we're getting closer to getting the variable by itself. So now we're down to negative 2x is less than 40. Now what?
Okay. Let's get rid of negative 2. Let x alone by dividing my negative 2 from both sides.
Okay. Okay, give me 1 sec. I'll be right back and check the door.
negative 2 on the other side. 40 divided by negative 2, not 2.
My apologies. All right. So, Alma, what are we going to do from here?
Divide by negative 2.
Uh-huh.
No, next 2, both sides. That's 40 with negative 2,
Mm-hmm.
not 2.
Oh, that matters?
Yes.
Okay, Alma. So now what?
And now eliminate the minus 2x and divide, and the answer it will be x, and we have to flip the sign.
Oh, we got to flip the sign. Why are we flipping the sign?
Yes, because we are dividing a negative number.
Perfect.
And the answer is with the x is mayor 20.
Just like that?
The answer is 20. No, 20.
Just 20, right?
Negative 20.
20.
Yes, negative 20.
Oh, yes, you're right. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, somebody else just joined us?
It's Diane.
Oh, all right, Diane, welcome. Okay. Have you been, has this been making sense so far?
Yes. I
We-
just got
But one question.
Go ahead.
Let's divide by the negative number will be changed the opposite sign.
Correct. Anytime you multiply by a negative number or divide by a negative number, the sign flips.
Okay, then this x will be greater than negative 20. Okay. I got it. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Okay. Bruce, I'm glad somebody else joined us. Okay. So, yes, the signs do matter. I purposely don't like to put them in to see who's paying attention. I'm still a student and I'm getting another master's degree and probably get my doctor's degree. So this is another good way to see who's paying attention. Now, for you, like we talked about before, you have 50 questions on the math portion of the test. Yeah, 50 questions on the math portion of the test. You have 90 minutes to do it. If you get into a situation where you have 5-6 questions left and you're guessing, these little things are going to be helpful because if the sign is wrong, the whole answer is wrong. So if you start working out a problem and you're like, oh, I see that the sign needs to be this, you can go through those multiple choice problems, get rid of all the ones you know are wrong. So that way your guesses are not going to be completely random, right? You'll know, okay, odds are this is probably the right answer because the sign was wrong. Because they'll do things like that, right? Do we need to do another problem or can we move on to the word problems? We have 2 word problems and about a half hour left, which that's fair, about 10 minutes per problem. Do you guys want to do another compound inequality or move on to the word problem? Move on or stay? Okay, so one person says to stay. They want to do another compound inequality. Everybody else?
Okay, I'm still confused.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yes, it's okay. Work one more compound.
One more compound inequality? Okay. Okay. So 3 plus 9x is greater than 4 times x plus 7. And I know somebody said they were still confused. Who was that?
Dan?
Okay, perfect. So you're going to walk us through this one. All right, I'm
Greater
going.
or and equal.
I'm sorry?
You write down on the board greater or greater and equal.
Greater and equals, yeah. Greater than or equal to. Sorry. I keep trying to write without blocking the board, and I know it comes out sloppy. My apologies. All right, so I'm going to start the timer. As soon as you are done, let me know.
Four x plus 28.
Okay, I'm done.
Ooh, 23 seconds, son. You beat your own record.
I'm done.
Not sure who that was. 29 seconds.
I'm done.
I don't know who that was. 35 seconds.
Yeah, I'm done.
54 seconds. Nice.
Are you guys got a 5?
Yes, I got 5.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so Diane, walk us through this.
So far, I multiplied 4 and x. I got 4x. And then I multiplied 4 and 7. I got 28.
Okay, so sorry, you started working out here. Go ahead.
Yes, I multiplied 4 with x and 4 and 7. I got 4x plus 28.
Okay. Now what?
And I subtracted 3 with 28. I got
So 3x plus 9x. Okay, and you said you subtracted. Oh, I'm sorry. That's a plus side. My fault.
Sorry.
Go ahead. And what'd you do here?
3 plus
I thought-
no. Yeah.
I thought it was a plus.
It is. It's a plus. Sorry. My handwriting was so sloppy I confused myself. Sorry. So it's 3 plus 9x is greater than or equal to 4x plus 28. Now what?
I subtracted 3 with 28. Wait, 3 with 3 and 28 with 3.
Okay. So let's try to take it one step at a time, right? So let's eliminate one thing. What do we want to eliminate?
I want to eliminate 3.
Okay. So how would I do that?
So it's gonna be negative 3.
So let's go ahead and rewrite that. You got what?
I think 25.
Okay, so 9x is greater than or equal to 4x plus 25. Now we're done, right?
Yes. Do you divide with 4x and 9x?
Well, what would be the easiest way to get rid of it? Right? So I like where your mind is going. You're thinking about eliminating it, right? Huh?
Subtract 4x from both sides. Oh, subtract it. Okay.
Okay. And okay, so Sam, you were dangerous. Now, Diane, why do you think we would subtract it? Why are we subtracting 4x by 9x as opposed to 9x by 4x? Like, why are we doing it that way?
Oh, they're the same variable. They have letters.
Yes. And when I do that, by subtracting the 4x, subtracting the 9x by the 4x, notice how I'm also putting all the variables on one side of the inequality. Right? And that's going to be helpful because now I can easily work to getting the variable by itself. So I'm going to subtract 4x. So that's going to, oh, so it's had a brain fart. So what do I do from there?
So I got 5x when I subtracted it.
Yep, 5x.
This is when I'm supposed to divide that 5x with 25.
Correct, because that's the only way to get the x by itself.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so that's called an inverse operation, doing the opposite to get rid of things so that you can get the variable by itself. So we divide by 5.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, now, how would I graph this? How would I
Now
graph
I'm
it?
confused.
All right, so let's talk about it. So start us out. Our friends and family will help us. So I want to graph this because then they will probably ask you to do that for these inequalities. And if you don't know where to start, like I said, somebody else in the family will at least get us started.
So I think it's gonna turn towards the right side. Yeah.
It is. So walk me through how to graph it. You're exactly right.
So I think it's gonna start from 5.
Yes, so we're going to create our number line. Remember, our number line is to express what will make this equation true from now until infinity. Does that make sense? It's just like a budget. Like when we talked earlier about living in California or having $8 to go with your friends to the movies, you want to know what number will work from now until infinity, right? So we start off as 0. Oh, that makes it look like it's negative. It's not. It's just a 5. Okay, so what am I going to do from here?
So I think it's gonna start at 5, going to the negative.
So we're going to circle 5. And is it going towards the negative or is it going towards the positive?
To the positive on the right side. Oh, to the positive, okay.
Okay, and Diane, why is it doing that?
Because it's 5 more or equal. Okay.
That's all right. Let's talk it out. Let's talk it out. All right, we know this is the answer. And if you want to explain it in another language, like I said, between me and Google Translate, I pretty much speak every language: Tagalog, Portuguese, Hebrew, Aramaic. Let me know.
So x is greater than equal 5, but the circle on number 5 needs to be blurred.
What? The circle, yeah, the circle needs to be filled, right? Why is that?
Because
Because of the equal sign.
Yes. The equal sign means that the 5 will make the equation true, right? This means that the 5 will make the equation true. Now, again, I would recommend, because you want to breeze through these, whatever side, whatever direction the little endpoint of the inequality goes, that's the same direction the arrow is going to go. Okay. I'll explain to you why, but again, this math portion is definitely the most challenging for people. And the biggest complaint I've heard is time, right? So like we talked about before, even just taking 3 minutes per problem, we're now over by almost an hour, right? So we want to be efficient. We know it's going to be going in this direction. Now, the logic behind that is the fact that if we go back to the problem, right, 3 plus, and I'm sorry I'm writing it sloppy. I'm trying to avoid being seen. 3 plus 9x, then perfect, equal to 4x plus 7. So what this is saying is that 5 will make this true. Well, let's see. What's 9 times 5?
45.
Plus 3?
That's 348.
So this has to be less than, I'm sorry, greater than or equal to all of this. So we said the answer was 5, right? Or the solution. So what happens if I plug 5 in here? What would my answer be?
So the 5 plus 7 is 12. 12 times 4 is 48.
So is it true?
Yes.
Correct. So at a bare minimum, 5 will make this true. That's why we circle. That's why we have to have it filled in. It is the right answer. Now, to continue to make it a true statement, the number has to be bigger than 5. Let's see if that's true. Let's say we say, oh, let's test it. Let's use 4. Well, let me erase everything else. Let's just say we want to test it and we're like, oh man, let's see if this is true. Let's use 4.
But I left today.
Huh?
I left early today. I'm gonna left now.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Sam, for participating. Yeah, thank you for participating. We'll continue on. Okay, so let's say we make this 4, right? Let's say we want to test it. Is this even true? Is everything that's not 5 or greater going to make this equation not true? Well, let's see. What's 9 times 4? 9 multiplicado por 4. ¿Cuánto es? 9 times 4. What is it?
36.
Plus 3 is what?
39.
Yep. Well, let's see if this is true. Is 39 greater than or equal to? Okay, so We're going to use 4. What's 4 plus 7?
28.
4 plus 7?
Oh, no, sorry.
What is 4 plus 7?
11.
Times 4?
44?
So is it true?
No.
No, and that's why it won't work. So any number less than 5 will make this equation not true. 5 and any number greater will make the equation true. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? What's that? Now that Sam is gone, we all can't be shy. No se pueden poner penosos o penosas porque se fue nuestra amiga. So, does this make sense?
Yes, it makes sense.
Okay. That's why we circle it. All right. I'm going to give everybody, I got to talk to this contractor very quickly. I'm going to give everybody 2 minutes. You can use the restroom, get a drink of water, whatever. And then we're going to do a word problem. All right.
Okay.
All right. Now we're back. Okay. So to respect our time, should be able to get through both of these. Okay. So I'm going to read it out loud and I'm going to write it. So me reading it will probably be faster than me writing it, but everybody will see it. So 3 added to the product of -4. So 3 added to the product of -4. You're going to notice a lot of math terms here. That's why anytime we're solving the problems, I make sure to include the actual vocabulary. It's one of the ways they're going to try to trip you up on the word problems. And they'll try to confuse you with the directions by doing the same thing. So it's okay if when you hear the word, you think of something that's easier to understand. But either way, you have to understand what the word means. So 3 added to the product of -4 and a number, otherwise known as x, is less than 5 added to the product of -3 and the number okay. Then they give you they give you 5 options, which I'm going to write down. Okay. So they're going to ask you, which one of these represents the answer to this, the solution, right? So we have A, where it's going to be 2 open circle to the left. B, 2 open circle to the right. Now we have C, -2 open circle to the left. We have D, which is -2 open circle to the right. And we have E, which they said was 0 to the right, open circle. What I would suggest when you get a problem like this is as you're writing it down, above each math vocabulary term, write out what it actually is. Okay. And with the options, solve the problem first. Then, as you're solving it, you'll be able to get rid of these wimpy answers, the answers that you know are wrong. So I'm going to reset the clock. The time to solve the problem starts now. Hello, hello. I put a new problem up on the board. We're gonna. This will be the last problem we work on for the day.
Okay. I mean, oh no, the last problem.
It's a word problem. Yeah. You got this. And I'm sorry, did somebody say they were finished?
No.
Okay. Please let me know when you think you're done.
Can you explain, please? Because I am confused.
Absolutely. Okay. So I'm going to stop it here. We're at 4 minutes and 51 seconds. This is why, again, going back to talked about earlier, for the test, this is why time management is so important when it comes to these word problems and the other things, right? This is going to take us a little bit. So here's the way I would approach the problem. As I read, I'm going to write on top of what I read so that I understand what they're asking. 3 added to the product. Okay, so 3 added. So we're going to add these. So product, if you don't know this, product is the answer when you're multiplying. What's that? Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay. So 3 added to the product. Product is the answer when you are multiplying. That's very important to know. Write that down if you don't. Anytime you multiply two things together, the answer is called the product. So we know we're going to be talking about multiplication. Okay. The product of -4 and a number. They kind of gave you a little bit of help here. They said a number equals X, meaning the unknown number, right? So anytime you see the word number, you know we're talking about X. So we have 3. We're adding 3 to the product of -4 and a number. So that's -4 and X, meaning a number we don't know. Does this make sense so far? We have -4X plus 3. Does that make sense so far? Ooh, Mariana, very good. Okay, so Mariana, Andre, you tracking. Okay. No questions on how we got that so far.
No.
Okay. So good. Notice how, again, I'm breaking everything down, right? I'm writing it on top as I'm reading. This is how you should approach word problems. When you see this, you know they're going to set up whatever the answer is going to be, it has to be set up from the problem. Okay. Is less than 5. So it has to be, all of this has to be less than 5 added to the product. So product, what does product mean again?
The product is the result
Of what? Okay. So remember, product is what we call the answer when we are it's what we call the answer when we are said it a few minutes ago. This will be on the test. Product is what we call the answer when we are what with two numbers? Either Mariana, Andre. I think Ama's still here. What do we call it? What does the word product mean? Anybody out there? What does the word product mean? Yeah. If you're confused, let me know you're confused. So we can go back. I need to hear from you guys. If you're confused, let me know you're confused. Si están confundidos, me tienen que decir.
Gracias.
Okay. Very nice, Andre. Still haven't heard from Mariana. Still haven't heard from Ama. No tengan miedo. What does the word product mean?
Es el resultado de un número multiplicado por otro.
Exactamente. Product is what it means when was the answer when we're multiplying things together. We're multiplying two numbers together. And we see that word multiple times, okay? So, sum, S-U-M, that's the answer when we're adding. That's what we call it. We call it the sum. Difference is what we call when we are subtracting. That's what the answer is called. Product is when we are multiplying, and quotient is when we are dividing. I would write those down. Doesn't really matter if you spell them correctly. And if you'd like me to spell them out or send it to you in an email, we can. Okay. So we know it's going to be 3 added to the product of -4 and a number. So -4 and a number plus 3, that's the first part, is less than 5 added, right? So all of this is less than 5 added to the product of -3 and a number. -3 and a number. This is our equation. -4x plus 3 is less than -3x plus 5, just like Andre got in the live chat. Now what? I need somebody to walk me through this because this is the last problem we're going to do, and I'm hearing a lot of silence. I need somebody to walk us through this. Because now that we figured out what the problem is, we still haven't answered it.
Yes, I got the reason.
All right, go ahead, Andre.
I think this letter C.
What do you think the answer is?
I'm sorry. D.
D. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Now, the other two people on the line, they're scared. So can you help us solve it? How you got letter D? Because the other two people on the line, I think they would benefit from it.
This I have better picture. X more minus 2.
Ok. Y de todas las respuestas que yo tenía aquí en la pizarra, ¿cuál fue la respuesta que tenía ese resultado en la línea?
La letra B.
¿B de Benjamín o D de David?
D de David.
Okay, muy bien. Okay. So it could be, perdón, no sé si hablando con Alma o con Mariana.
Mariana.
Okay. So either Mariana or Andre, who wants to walk us through solving this?
Okay. I will be cutting this -3 with I'm sorry. 3 with -3, and both sides with 5.
Okay. So you're saying we're going to add 3 to both sides?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like I said, my Portuguese is strong. So if because this is mostly about solving it, if you ever want to tell me the directions or what you're doing in Portuguese, I'm all ears. I know you want to practice on your English, so either way is fine. So we added 3 to both sides. Okay, now what?
Okay. This plus 3x. Okay.
So what do we do now?
-x. And plus 3 greater than 5.
Okay. Now what do we do?
Plus 3.
All right. We still need to get rid of the 3. So we're going to add 3. And we're left with -1x.
3.
Uh-huh.
No. -x. And minus -3 on both sides.
Yep.
-3. 5. No?
Oh, we're subtracting by 3?
Yeah, negative.
Oh, okay.
Negative 2. Yeah,
Okay.
5 minus 3.
Yep, and that's going to give us what?
Positive 2.
Positive 2. So negative 1x is greater than positive 2. What do we do from here?
Yeah.
So what do we do here?
Divide minus 1.
Divide by what?
Divide 1x and 2 is minus 1.
Okay. What kind of 1?
Okay.
Minus 1.
And now
Yeah, we do.
x is less than oh my god.
Yeah. Let's work it out. I love that everybody's talking. What do we do here? What do we do here? There's 2 things we have to do. 2.
Divide.
Uh-huh.
Minus 1.
Divide by negative 1. Okay.
Yes.
And what do we have?
X. We have to flip sign.
We have to flip the sign. Why are we flipping the sign?
That's okay. Flip the side.
We are dividing a negative number.
Good. So we flip the sign.
It's okay. X is less than negative 2.
Correct.
No,
I'm sorry. No, X is. Sorry, I ended up. Did I end up flipping the sign when I wrote it out?
One question.
My fault. Sorry. You do flip the sign. I wrote down the sign the wrong way.
I'm starting my problem with my left side less than right side, but maybe I misunderstand the problem when I read. The first part is less than second part of the problem. Yeah.
Yeah. So here, that was my fault.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my fault.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, that was my fault. Sorry.
Thank you.
I'm always trying to like write and not be on the board, and yeah, but my fault. So that was on me. Sorry, because I realized that I was like, wait a second, no, x has to be greater than negative 2. I'm sorry. I wrote the inequality sign the wrong direction. Yeah. So x is greater than negative 2. So out of all of these solutions, it would have to be D. Right? And we know it's not going to be A because A is showing that it would have to be all solutions to make this equation true. It would have to be all numbers greater than 2. And that's not what's going to make it true, right? It has to be all numbers that are, I'm sorry, A is showing that the answer has to be all numbers that are less than positive 2. So right off the bat, that's not going to work. This is how we can work quickly, right? So I'm going to write up A in case you guys don't remember what the answer looked like. So A, we could get rid of A before we even completely solve the problem. Why? Because A is telling us that the answer is positive 2. So as we start working it out, we know it's not going to be positive 2, right? So we can get rid of A. If you can get rid of A, we can also get rid of B because B also says that it's positive 2. As we started working out the problem, we can see where it's going. It's not going to be positive 2. So we can get rid of B. So now we're between C, D, and E. Okay. Now, C and D both think it's negative 2. So we can't get rid of either one based off the fact that they're not using the right number. this is going to come down to the direction that the arrow is going, right? And we know x is greater than -2. So to make this equation true, it has to be -2 or higher. And when we look at when we look at C and D, yes, they both are using -2, but C is saying that it has to be -2 or below. We know that's not going to work, so it has to be D. Once we got down to -2, we already got rid of E because E thinks it's 0. So right out the gate, as soon as I start working this problem out, I'm getting rid of stuff, right? I already know it's not going to be 2. And I know it's not going to be 0, right? As soon as I started writing it out, I could tell it was going to be a low-digit single number. Any questions before I let you guys go?
Just to confirm, the correct answer was B.
Correct. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. You said it was going to be 150, and that you're going to order the part, but be back here next week to install it. Yes. Sorry. Let me finish up with this lady. These people. Okay, perfect. Anybody else have any questions?
No questions.
No, there's no question. I'm okay.
Mr. Morton, I'm
Yes.
sorry, I need to leave the class.
Yeah, I'm going to end the class right now, too.
One more class.
Yeah.
See you tomorrow.
Okay,
Thank
see
you
you
so much.
tomorrow. All right, see
you
everybody tomorrow.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, see everybody tomorrow.